Hey everyone, just want to talk today about living with injuries. Now, obviously for us, this is thinking about living our day-to-day life while still being able to stay safe if a self-defense situation arises while dealing with some type of injury. For me, a little under a month ago, I broke my foot and I found out it was broken. Now, I was given crutches and a boot to have them in. So this isn't a cast that I'm in because it was just some small bones. It's more of just making sure I'm not putting weight on the foot and necessarily having to completely immobilize the leg or something like that, like if it was someone with like the femur or maybe the ankle or things like that. So I'm still a little bit more mobile, but it still is an injury in the lower body that kind of can hem me up if I'm not prepared for it. So this is something we really need to think about when it comes to if we ever have an injury, because most of the time, just like it was for me, I'm not necessarily going to think about, oh, this is what I would do if like I randomly like broke something and had crutches or was in a wheelchair or different things like that. But once it actually happens, we need to think about it. So obviously for me, if a situation were to arise, I am in crutches, but I'm in a little boot, so I'm still decently mobile, that if a situation arises, I'll drop the crutches, I'll get into the situation and be able to get out, and I won't care too much about maybe re-injury or further damaging my foot because I'm retaining my life fully in this world. So it's not something necessarily about having to maybe have a full debilitating injury. Now, for some of you, you might get an injury that very much debilitates you on how you're going to be able to respond to a self-defense situation. That is another thing we'll talk about in a little bit, but really at first we need to really address and see, are we able to adapt over this injury? You know, a lot of people will talk about improvise, adapt, overcome. So thinking about that, if I have an injury, am I still going to be able to, defend myself and things like that? Well, like we talk about, the first thing it starts with is being situationally aware. And making sure that we're not so focused on this injury or how we're having to now improvise us moving around or things like that we're not staying situationally aware. So for me, for a lot of people, when you get crutches, a lot of times you're moving the crutches, and instead of staying up and looking around, you're looking down to make sure that you're going to place those crutches not in a hole or uneven terrain or something like that, and making sure you're not about to just face plant. So instead, making sure while still moving with the crutches, we're keeping our head up, and we're still, as we say, head on a swivel, making sure that we're still staying situationally aware. But once the situation happens, say for me, I would still be able to, for the most part, defend myself. Once I drop my crutches, then I can still be somewhat mobile. I can get to tools. I can hold or grab onto something, strike if I need to, be able to get to tools with my hands because my hands are, still open. But it's only after the crutches are empty. We recommend, obviously, as much as you can, keep your hands empty so that you can do that. So you can, hold someone back or grab onto something or strike or get to tools or things like that. Now, for me, because of these crutches, someone else out there that is stuck with crutches, this is a thing where you have to have your hands full. There's not a choice. This is how you're moving around, is with those crutches. So really thinking about it, making sure that as soon as we can realize the situation is happening, being prepared, that we are going to make sure that if need be, we have our hands empty so we can deal with the situation. Now, when it comes to, say, an upper body injury, say something like a shoulder or hand or things like that, then it might be even more that we're having to look at really adapting to that injury to be able to, hold someone back or strike or get to our tools and things like that. Something Michaela had a while back, she messed up one of her hands, and so she was in kind of a semi-cast, and we had to look at improvising how she would necessarily get to tools or different things like that, or do some admin tasks with self-defense with a hand that was somewhat not useful. So this is really something where we need to think about. It starts obviously again with the situational awareness, as always, and making sure from there we're able to defend ourselves in any situation that arises. Another thing that's important that really you will see when this injury might occur or things like that, and you're then having to still live your day-to-day life until you heal up, is now you aren't as we would say fully mission capable to be able to defend yourself or defend your family or loved ones or things like that. And so making sure, this is important, making sure that you have transferred those skills, or you have made sure that someone else has learned the skills at the same time you have been, and so that it doesn't necessarily mean if you're down and out of the fight that your loved ones or some other people around you don't have their protector per se in the fight anymore because you've had this injury. And, really need to make sure that if you have been out and you've trained and you've done learned things and different things like that, that you're transferring those skills on to someone else. A wife, a husband, girlfriend, boyfriend, loved one, son, daughter, things like that. Making sure if you learned it, you're transferring to them, or making sure that when you're going to these classes or things like that, you're bringing them along so that they are learning as well. And it's a huge thing that you can make sure that those loved ones, just as much as you maybe in the past protect them, they're now going to be able to protect you because they know the same amount or almost as much as you do. So guys, this is huge. Thinking about all these different aspects: improvise, adapt, overcome over your injuries, things like that, or make sure that the people around you have the same knowledge, skills, weapons, and tools and things like that as you do, so that everyone is really protected.